Hello everyone, welcome to tutorial 6 of the Google Earth training. For this part of the tutorial, I will show you how to create permanent spatial data and add attribute information to that data. So to begin, I have this file structure that I created in the last tutorial, and I'm going to use that as the basis of what I'm developing. So I'm going to first show you how to create point data. So I am actually going to create information in farmhouses, and I am going to go to right-click on that folder, add, and I'm going to say place mark. So when you create a place mark, it brings up this window, and you'll see it builds something like this that wants you to put it on the map where you want it to be located. So since I'm creating farmhouses, I'm just going to left click and drag it to one of the homes that I'm looking at. Okay? And one of the pieces of information that you'll see is that it automatically updates the latitude and longitude. And it also provides you the latitude and longitude here. This is where you can customize what you're doing and then provide a description. So here I'm going to put that this is Frank's home, and in the description you can copy and paste information into here, or you can add images into here. So right now I'm just going to say owner, it's Frank Owens, family size 6, house size 1400. So let's see, you can add this type of information. So as you notice, this is the description, and in here in the title, whatever you put in this title, excuse me, will go here on the place mark in the map. So if you leave it blank, there won't be anything here, but if you put Frank's home, it'll leave that on the map for reference. So if you want to change the place marker, go to Style, okay, and or change the label name. You can change the color. Right now it's white. You can change it to any one of these colors, and when I click OK, it changes it to green. You can change the icon color. Well, actually, how you want to change your icon, if you want to change it from a push pin, you click on this push pin in the top right, and it gives you all of these different style options. So if you want to use one of these, you can check one of these. But you can also import an icon using add custom icon, and you can browse to a custom icon location if you have something in-house that you would like to use. I'm going to just change it to a blue dot, and I'm going to reduce the size so it's a little smaller. Also, in this area, opacity, this means if you want to make it transparent or so you can see things underneath, you can change that. So if I click, or if I change it to 50, you see how it's about 50% transparent. I'm going to put it back at 100 because I want to be able to see the mark, and then I'm going to click OK. And then if I'm happy with what's here, if I want to change the size of the label as well, you can change the scale so that it's a little smaller. You can also make that transparent, and if you're happy with what you have here, you can click OK. So now that you've created this icon, it shows up here, and it has a brief description of it. It's Frank's home, owner is Frank Owens, family size 6, but if you click on the icon, it'll pop up this description of what you put in there. So Frank's home is the label here, and then all the information that you put in there. If you want to have latitude and longitude in there, you want to edit your point, you just right click on the point and go to properties, and it'll open up that window again. So if I want to add more information that I want to be immediately available, I can put that there. So I can copy this, paste it. So this is the latitude and longitude Frank's home. And then I'm going to click OK. So if I click on it again, it has all of that information ready to review. If I want to add another point to this map, I can just right-click on farmhouses again, add a place mark, and do it again. So now I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to put a place mark here. And I'm going to say that's my second home, and I'm going to call this Abner's home. And this is going to be owner Abner bags, and then family size is going to be 4. House size is going to be 1900 square. And then if you have all this information in an Excel spreadsheet, you can paste it in there so that it'll automatically, be in there without you having to type up anything. So I have, all that information now that if I want to send it to someone, it's immediately available to them. So I'm going to copy these, put it in here, copy this, put it in there, and then click OK. And now this is saved within the folder. If I want to change, so I want there to be a difference between Abner's home and Frank's home, so I can go back into Abner's, go to Properties, Style Color, color here, and I can change it to a green icon, or I can change the color here. I'd like to see a yellow icon. Now it changes it to that color. Click OK, and now it's in there. When I click on Abner's home, it has all of that information. I'm going to do one more home for point data, and then I'm going to show you how to create the other types of data. So it's going to be add place mark, and I'm going to call this James home. And the owner is going to be James Potter. Family is going to be 3. And then size is going to be 2100. And if you're smart, if you have to type in all this data, you'll just copy these without any of the information, so you can just paste in and fill it out. Or copy it, copy then paste it in, and then you can fill it out. So now I'm going to change the color again. And this one is going to be red. I'm going to click OK. And now we have 3 point data: Frank's home, James's home, and Abner's home. And if we click on those point marks, it has all of that information that we want in there. Okay, so that's how you create point data, and that's how you can organize it. So if I don't want to display one of these, I can just check it off, and it'll turn off that specific data. But I can check it all back on here, or I can turn them all off here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. If you click here, it'll collapse it, and now I'm going to start adding farm areas. So I'm going to do a polygon, show you how to create a polygon. So if you open Farms and go to Add Polygon, so you have place mark, path, and polygon. Place mark is the point, path is the line or lines, and polygon is the area. So if I click on polygon, I can draw an area, and you can create your polygon or your area much like with a point, but you start by doing a left click on where you want to begin, and then left click again when you want to create another point, left click again, and then left click again, and then when you're finally done, you just leave it alone. You don't have to double click, you just left click and be done, and then it'll create that area. Okay, And again, we want to title this, so we're going to call this Frank's Farm. Okay, so that's our descriptive. And in the style, your style options are in here. You can change the line, or you can not have a line, or you can change the area. And I'm going to make the area well, let's do this yellow. But you see how it's difficult to, so I don't want a line, so I'm just going to have it filled. So I have no boundary, but I want to be able to see what's underneath. So if you change the opacity, you can actually change the color, what's underneath. So there's 30%, 70%, 20%, 10%. So the lower the number, the more you'll be able to see through. So I'm going to go at 40 for that. And then it also provides measurements here. So you can find out what the area is, what the perimeters are. So if I want to know how many acres it is and the perimeter, so I can see here it's 1,509 meters and 23.4 acres. So I can put area is 23.4 acres, and then perimeter is 1,509 yards. And then in here I can also put, so like I said, if you have all this information in Excel, you can just put this right in. But for this, I'm going to go ahead and put agriculture, and I'm going to say sunflowers, and then pesticide, I'm going to say, I don't know, I'm going to say vinegar, something very organic, and then last use, you can put that in the date, so March 13th, 2020, and then last updated, so that people know when you were last in this data. You can put today's date, which is the 25th. But if you want to add a picture, you can add a picture going to add local image. So if you took a picture and you want to add something to the farm, so they grow sunflowers, so I'm going to go to add local image, save pictures, and then just guide it to the picture and click open, and it's pasted in here. So you'll notice when I click OK, I have everything that I want here. I click OK. If I click on Frank's Farm, it'll have all this listing, and it'll have that picture as well, and you can send and save that. Now keep in mind, you see when I click on Frank's Home, everything's in line and pretty organized. When I click on James's home, everything's in line and organized. But when I click on here, everything's not as organized. It's just jumbled together. That is because I added a picture, and that picture had some code. So what you'll need to do is do a little coding of your own, which is very simple for this. So I'm going to go back to properties, and if you want it to look like this, you simply put a caret, 2 carets, BR. So it's just, it's just this simple piece of code. And that's telling it to put a line break in between this line and this line. So if I put that in by each line, so I'm going to stop here and I'll show you what that looks like. So if I click OK and click on here, you'll see that each one has a new line, but these are still next to each other because I did not put a line break for those last two. So if I go back to properties and open it up and continue to put line breaks, that will create those lines. So I'm going to show you how to draw one more area, and then I'll show you how to draw a path. Okay, so if I want to add another area, I want to add it to Abner's Farm. I'm going to go to Add within Farms to Polygon, and I'm going to call this Abner's Farm. The style and color, I want it to be slightly different. I'm going to have it to be this light pink, and I want the opacity to stay at 40%. And then I'm going to start drawing. So I want to, Abner's Farm is over here, so I'm going to go ahead and start here. So it's left click, left click, left click. If you make a mistake and you're like, oh, made a mistake, and you don't, like, that's not where you wanted to put it, just simply right click and it'll delete your last point. But if you make a bunch of mistakes, like, oh, that is not what I intended, you can just right click and it'll delete the last thing that you left clicked. And it'll continue to do that until you get to the area where you feel is right, or where you didn't make that mistake. So I'm going to continue to left click, and then we have Abner's Farm. And like I said, this is as accurate as you are in being able to click. So you see I missed some here. If I want to start here and add, you have to go to the one preceding it. So you start here, and see how I can flatten that out a little bit. See how that's just a smidge more accurate, if you want to get that detailed. And now in the description, I'm just going to put Abner's. It's Abner's Farm for the measurements. 32.5 acres. Perimeter is 1,483 meters. And then if you want to add that other information, agriculture, alfalfa, pesticide, none, last used, it's not applicable because they don't use pesticide, and then last updated is 03. You can put another date when it was last in, so that when you're sharing this information, it's readily apparent, that they can look at and say, oh, this was last looked at that date. So now I have Frank's Farm, I have Abner's Farm. When I click on it, you can see all of this information. Okay, so now that I've created all this information, you can see here's 3 points, here's the area. I'm going to go ahead and right click on agriculture, save place as, and I'm just going to replace this file that I had previously. So now I have a new KMZ file that's saved on my desktop that has all this information. And the last thing I'm going to show you is a path. So or how to create a line. So I'm going to just go to agriculture, add a folder, and this is going to be called path. So now I have 1, 2, 3 subfolders, and I'm going to create a path within here, and it's going to be Abner to Frank. So I'm going to draw the shortest distance, or the path that someone would take to get to Abner's house, from Frank's house. And now we have that information. For our style, we want it to be visible, so we're going to make it be a bright red, and we're going to increase the width of it so we can see it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put 4, so it's nice and visible. You can make it transparent if you want, and some of the information you can put quickest path from Abner to Frank's property, and then you can add a measurement that it is 0.6 miles. Then if you're happy with the color, happy with the title, you click OK, and now you have all this different types of information. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and save agriculture. Again, you want to save so you don't lose it, and so you're able to share it. So I'm just going to replace that. And now I should have this data. So that's the end of how to create data in Google Earth. The next tutorial will be how to create maps using Google Earth.